What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles welcoming you to another edition of Lyles Movie Files. Joining me, as always, is little brother Jayce. Bro Shot, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. You know who else is doing good?
Ooh.
James Cameron, because he's proving to you little people that there was, yes, indeed, an audience for Avatar: The Way of Water. It's now the number 6 film on the all-time highest grossing list charts.
So
Thoughts?
didn't he say he had to be like number one to actually turn a profit though?
I think he said that he's made enough of a profit that he will go ahead with 3 and 4.
Ooh, is that a scare? I think so. Uh I, I'm it was funny. I thought when he said he was gonna make some extra amount of money on the first week, I'm like, no, he won't make that. But eventually there's nothing to watch in theaters. I don't know when the last time I've been to a movie theater. So I'm sure somebody's like, I got 5 hours to kill before my kid's dance recital's over. Let me see what I can do. I guess I'll watch Avatar. Like that's the only way anyone's seen this movie. I'm sorry. And maybe I'm in a little bit of a bubble that no one I know has any desire to see Avatar: The Way of Water. But if that's the case, I guess my little bubble doesn't have Avatar. Blue Pandemo
Pandora, I believe.
Pandorians. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So big surprise for you, good sir, because
Mm.
James Cameron knows his audience. And even if it takes 20 years, they'll be back to see his next big blockbuster movie.
And it'll take him 20 years to film part three. Good luck.
So here's something that I kept seeing. It's kind of like annoyed. I always feel like when actors decide to do this stuff, hey, this movie that I did all these years ago, I hated it too. And Channing Tatum is making the rounds now because he's hyping up his new Magic Mike movie. But he said he did not want to star in GI Joe: The Rise of Cobra. He was forced to pass. He tried to pass on the role 7 times, not nine
Seven
times,
times?
not nine, just 7 times. He said that he effing hated that movie, which is true. I mean, I don't believe anyone could like that movie. It was terrible and awful. So he said he would have been sued if he pulled out of the second one, but he did manage to convince the studio to kill his character off in the first 10 minutes of G.I. Joe Retaliation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I always thought the weirdest thing would be why they didn't show Duke actually being dead. Like there's an attack on the Joe base, and it's just left to our imagination that Duke is killed because the characters react, but we don't actually see Duke's dead body, which is kind of weird. I mean, I guess there wasn't a dumpster for him to go under and hide and avoid the
Shut
Cobra.
up, Glenn.
I just thought it's so weird. So, what do you think about this? Because I mean, I can't imagine anyone thinks that The Rise of Cobra was a good movie. So I don't feel like Channing is getting any bonus points or any nerd cred bonus because he's saying I hated that movie and I didn't even want to be in it.
Well, it's one of those things. I don't think you get nerd cred, but I think he's. I mean, like one. I think I read it was like, hey, I actually grew up on GI Joe, and I know this wasn't GI Joe. I read a script. It was trash. I tried. I mean, the studio had me optioned for 7 films, and they said we can't find anybody else to play Joe, so you're it. It was hot potato, and they just kept passing it back to him, and he's like, I don't want it. Tossed it. And he's like, no, we're gonna put you in it. So for him to say, hey, I had to do it, I couldn't talk bad about it till now, almost doesn't give you cred, but it's like, hey, fellow people from the 80s, I knew this was trash. I couldn't bury the movie while I was in there because studios won't work with me. So 10 years and now everybody kind of accepts that this movie's trash. Even then when they put it on Netflix, and you're almost thinking, was that the good one or the bad one?
It is
And then
absolutely,
you
there's
look at
no
it,
confusion which one is the good one and which one's the bad one.
yeah, and then you look at it like, nah, that's the trash one. Like I just am not that bored enough to watch that. And Channing Tatum once again reinforces that movie was bad. Now, as I always say, the only reason some of us thought this might be a realistic thing in G.I. Joe was when we saw Baron. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I got somebody that looks like Baroness. But after the next thing, you're just like, who's Stalker? Okay, we're moving.
No, he's Ripcord. And why does Snake Eyes mask have a mouth? Why are all the Joes in black leather outfits?
Because what do you think this is, a 90s action movie?
Well played. Well played. Yeah, I hate that movie so much. And I just feel like it would take all of two, 3 hours for me to come up with a good premise plot for a G.I. Joe movie and how to actually make it work. Here's just one small hint. Use the costumes from the real American hero. They're
I
not
was gonna
even anything you have to work on. It's just, oh, green for certain for the original 13 with a few accent points. Oh, and then just a black shirt and some shotgun shells for Flint and a beret. I mean, it's
say,
not hard. They
well,
went out of their way, I felt, in retaliation to not do the
oh yeah,
cartoon comic
oh
book
gosh, it
figure.
worked to make sure Flint wasn't in costume. It was like, seriously,
Yeah.
beret. Like, why is he so afraid of Lady J? Like, seriously, this makes no sense.
Yeah. Like it's good in a relative sense of being a G.I. Joe movie that's like, okay, this kind of sort of has the feel of G.I. Joe, and there's some good moments in it. It's not great. I think they still could make a good, great G.I. Joe movie, but they just need to stop being embarrassed that they're making a G.I. Joe movie. It's
But
really as simple as this is G.I. Joe, deal with it.
now here's the weird thing. If I'm not mistaken, G.I. Joe was optioned by Paramount, correct?
Yep.
Like, the guys who technically brought you the Avengers. I don't understand why the translation was so hard for them to just say, hey, let's just make a bunch of guys. And I mean, we can kind of, like I said, like, I mean, I was watching, Lyle's figure file today, and I was looking at your, like, oh, these are the guys, like, oh, they're just in army gear with just slight different accents. It's like, y'all couldn't, I mean, and the bad guys, like, I mean, maybe you couldn't use the Crimson Twins in their outfits just because it was way too cool. But come on, you got, I mean, like, you, a bunch of bad guys, like buffed up Dr. Mindbender. Like, you can't, these guys you can't use. Like, you could, I mean, this is one of the few franchises I always like. You guys can't find five. I mean, I don't have story one in my head. I did not read 9 million G.I. Joe comic books, but I can come up with a G.I. Joe movie. Just give me the characters. I mean, I just used the TV show. I
Yes,
can
the
come up
TV
with,
show has plenty of 30-minute episodes that you could blow out into a whole 2 hour movie just and focus on the characters and Cobra's ridiculously crazy plot to do something outlandish. That's all the G.I. Joe movie really has to be.
yeah.
And colorful characters, even more colorful bad guys, some cool vehicles.
Mhm.
Retaliation had cool vehicles. So it was like, okay, y'all can do this part. Why don't you just color it up a little bit more as opposed to making everything black? It's like Retaliation was so close, but it was like,
I
you
mean,
just
his
don't.
tanks were cool. It was like, oh, I mean, you got. It was almost like, if I don't know if it was because critics buried it so much, but it was like, guys, you are almost there. You just need to, like, drill down one more level and
Yeah.
then come up. I mean, you had Jinx in there, you had a Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes battle. I mean, it's almost here. Like, you had in the first 5 minutes, you had Cobra Commander getting over on Destro because he betrayed him, because he does that all the time. Perfect
Yes.
start. I mean, it's like, hey, you remember when you tried to screw me over on the Weather Dominator? Yeah, okay. Stay in the ice for a couple months until I need you. Like, that's it's sad that they couldn't come up with like 5 great movies off G.I. Joe.
It's still not impossible. Channing Tatum was also making the rounds because he apparently his production company has the rights to the original Ghost movie, starred Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, and Whoopi Goldberg. And there's at least some consideration of doing an updated version of it. Do you have any interest in seeing a Ghost remake?
No, but I mean, how I mean, I know it's like, this is one of those kind of, I don't want to say it's like one of the original romance kind of movies, but it's kind of classic. But you probably, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people in the '60s said you couldn't remake certain things. Like I mean, I'm sure there are people who said you couldn't remake Dirty Dancing, and they were totally proven right. So I'm sure this will work out fine.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. So I'm just like, yeah, thanks. But no. I think Ghost is one of those movies you should just leave alone. There's no reason to remake it. Just do another kind of movie.
I mean,
No.
it's a whole lot of '80s believability to
Yeah.
get that movie to work,
Yeah.
and
And
we are way too cynical. I mean, because I mean, it's not just us. It's like us is the like our and our parents' generation are ones who watch the movie. The next generation after is way too cynical.
yeah.
I'm
Why,
sorry,
why did
just
she live stream it? Why didn't she put it on her TikTok?
oh my gosh, like, all these things. It's like you have to admit if you go for it, you have to go in 2020. You can't pull it anywhere else. You got to 2020 it, and I don't think that's the way to go, boss.
No, absolutely not. All right. So speaking of things that might not be the way to go, Antoine Fuqua is going to be directing a Michael Jackson biopic. And it's going to be produced by Graham King, who produced Bohemian Rhapsody. Thoughts?
Who also produced Whitney Houston bio that no one saw.
I figured I didn't need to mention that since no one saw it. I want somebody to see my movie. I don't need them to
Okay,
dance. I need somebody to see my
let me
movie.
say this. If they try and do this, can they at least have a black actor for Michael Jackson? I mean, that's the low bar I want. Can they just have a black actor doing it?
See, the real question is how are they going to do? How would they do a Michael Jackson movie? Would it start off Jackson 5 era, or I'm just removed from the Jackson 5 doing my own thing, just finish off the wall? I got to do Thriller now. I mean, I feel like Michael Jackson's life is so expansive, so huge that one movie probably wouldn't do it justice. And
Yeah,
then you've got all the sticky, icky stuff as well. Do you spend a lot of time on that? Or is this a celebration of the King of Pop's life?
I mean, like, all right, so like Bohemian Rhapsody, I'm sure. I mean, it was fictionalized of that. If all that stuff didn't happen. Like Freddie Mercury wasn't the one who broke out of Queen. It was like they had to switch that. Like he was too good for him. It wasn't him. With Michael, I mean, and they all have to. It's like all of these. You have to take them when they were just starting their little inspirations. Like, so that means you have to get Michael Jackson 5, and that means you got to go real Joe Jackson on it, and then you got to get to solo. I mean, like the Michael's arc is way too complex, I think, for a movie and a puff piece, definitely, because it's like you would have people picketing that probably don't even remember what happened, and then they're trying to dig up everything on TikTok, trying to figure out who Michael Jackson really was. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you'd have a better shot, technically, in doing a Prince biofilm where his arc is kind of steady. It's just great music, and that's it. I think
Not
his
not not a lot of bodies in the closet either.
yeah. Well, it's like I mean, if you, I mean, as I sent you guys, like I went on a Prince rabbit hole, and then you see some of the kind of
Is,
some icky situations,
is
but it's
such a
like
thing possible?
you can get around them, and then the people who have those icky situations. I mean, they have their little drama. I ain't gonna say icky. Like they got their beef. They can go run the TV circuit, get some 5 minutes back on their name, and call that. But I think he's an easier one to do. Like, I mean, I just what I would go with Prince. I mean, versus like
All right.
Michael.
So that's your solution. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm down with that.
Yeah.
That does seem to make a lot more sense than trying and failing so mightily with something that's not going to work. HBO revealed its or had the premiere of its new video game adaptation, The Last of Us. And the first episode was great. I played that game. It is one of my favorites, top 5 of this last or current, depending if you've switched over to a PlayStation 5 yet, like I have not this generation. So I put that up there. God of War, Resident Evil, pick one. Days Gone. Just there's so many good games for this iteration of the PlayStation, and Last of Us definitely needs to be on that list. And this is one of those like Uncharted where it's kind of, well, can you guys do this well enough that it's going to make sense to do a show? Because the video game really played out like a great movie, a great TV show. What can you guys do to improve on it? And with the first episode, if that's any indication, they've got a good formula. The guy who wrote the game is writing the episode, so it's not a case of somebody who doesn't understand the property. Well, I thought Joel would do more of this because yeah, and I thought he just decided to do this because we never really got to see this in the game, and I just want to go this direction with him. We don't have any of that. It's very true to the game, but stuff is expanded in a way that makes sense. Kind of like how The Walking Dead didn't rush to kill off Shane. Spoiler, as fast as he was killed off in the comic book. Stuff gets a little bit more time to breathe. The opening sequence really plays off a lot stronger than the game just because there's more time to focus on it. It's just really good. Where are you with this? Have you started watching the show?
I watched it before we started filming. Like
Perfect.
I
What you
I
think?
I mean, again, like I said last week, I have not played a video game, but that opening was creepy enough. It was like something's not perfect, but it's like that in the background. It's like, what's going on? We'll keep. It's 2023. No, it's 2003. We're just kind of getting coming off stuff. It's just light. But then it's like, uh, hey
Why is grandma
grandma,
moving like that in the background?
hey grandma. Like, that was so creepy. We're like, it's like when the dog, and just always remember, if the dog starts barking like that, go inside,
Yeah,
lock the
when the
door.
dog is staring like, yeah, I don't know about this. That
Always trust animals, folks. Just
always
easy
trust the
way to
dog.
go.
Yes.
But it was like one of those things. I really liked the acting in it. I hope. I mean, it's like Anna Torv from Fringe is in it, and I was like, okay, like,
Dude,
all
I
right,
totally didn't recognize that was Anna Torv.
yeah. I was like, okay, like, I mean, you got
Hey,
Pascal. It's like,
Joab.
oh, it's like, okay, we're starting at a very good point, and what's her name from Game of Thrones?
Bella Ramsey.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, we're starting at least that point good. And I think looking at the previews, it's like this is a really expansive world that we can get into, and it looks like the monsters that are coming are creepy, scary, and like seeing like a random person kind of stuck to a wall. That was that was creepy. So it's like you guys might have this one. I'm not. It's like I'm not giving it to you that yet, but you may have something that could last, especially during the time when like Game of Thrones is. I mean, what is it?
When they
Like
need another hit, House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon. Like that's that. If they can keep that right during that time, I think they're. I mean, HBO's might be racking up some more awards come award season next year.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. And this episode really didn't have a lot of zombie action or infected action, which I thought made it even better because you know it's coming, but they can focus on the characters, set up the premise, and then get you ready for the next episode. So very excited about this.
Well, I mean, but when they had the infected in there, they were very effective because it was like, oh crap. I mean, it was just like, oh, I mean, like when you see grandma, oh crap.
Yeah, and she's running very quickly.
Yeah, it's like the sprint game with grandma got real good. And when they were in that diner, oh shoot, you were like, oh, I feel the terror of in this scenario. And I think going forward, even if you don't see that, this isn't like Resident Evil, where it's kind of, it's like these guys are kind of haul tail zombie kind of deals. And that's always much more terrifying. Like, you have to
Yes.
be real scared. You have to be real quiet because they're not lumbering. They're
Yeah.
hauling tail, jumping over stuff. Like,
Right.
oh, okay.
The 28 days later infected.
Yeah, it's always scary.
So I have some interesting news for you. And it's too bad the chief isn't here or Gunner is here. So James Gunn posted on his Twitter account uh, an image of All Star Superman, which has some DC fans speculating that Gunn, who's going to be doing the Superman movie, might be taking some cues from that story. How excited are you about this?
Oh
Or are you?
man, where's Gunner? Damn. um, like I said, like I think All Star Superman is a very good, uplifting version of a Superman. Not because like if you didn't like Henry Cavill's like so dark, I mean the Zack Snyder versus Superman. All Star Superman is like this dude who's not he's good, he's not always in your face, snapping necks and heat visioning people. Like he's and telling everybody, I'm here, I'm here. Oh, I'm sorry, that was more Smallville, as you can see in the background. But I think that's a good story. It to start with, and it adds in Alexa Luthor and ends in I'm trying to think. Maybe has Pizarro in it. I don't know if we take all of that, but you keep the much more uplifting Superman. So it's like if you want to go with dark Batman, that's cool. You have somebody to play off versus everybody in this real dark, crappy world. So if they want to start there, I think that's a good starting point. And see, I'd like to see where they go from there.
Okay, so Gunn also raised some eyebrows online by saying, yeah, he'd love to work with Dave Bautista, Chris Pratt in the DC universe. Which just no real thinking about it. What characters do you think would work best for them in DC?
Chris Pratt. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think in my head, like because Dave Bautista is like he wants to do something. He always wants to do something different than the last one. I mean, I don't know. I mean, my head's saying Solomon Grundy, but that's not right. I think.
Well, I'm thinking Parasite for Batista. He could be a cool Parasite.
Because he could start off like very like, hey, Rudy just, hey, I'm down on my luck, hey, things is, life is life, but then comes into I don't know if and then comes into Parasite. I don't know if he's gonna feel like going through all the makeup and stuff, but depending who
Yes, we'll
you got,
CGI it now. It's no problem.
it's like depending on who your Superman is, like I think that could be a good matchup.
And for Chris Pratt,
What do you think?
the character that came immediately to mind that's going to require a little bit of facial hair is Green Arrow. I think he could play Green Arrow pretty well.
Green Arrow, maybe. What about Green Lantern?
Well, that could work too. He could do Hal Jordan for real.
Yeah, think that
I
probably.
guess he wouldn't have to change up his hair too much either.
Yeah, think that probably.
I
Yeah,
like your idea. Let's go with Chris
yeah.
Pratt
I think that's the way to go.
as Hal Jordan.
Yeah,
Very good. All right, good deal. So I like how that worked out.
yeah.
This whole WWE thing is going even crazier.
Oh, what thing, Jeffrey?
Oh, Vince doing a full-on Godfather Game of Thrones hostile takeover of his company so he can sell it and get paid. That thing.
Again, when this is like kind of anybody doesn't know shareholder, litigation. I mean, or just like stocks. It's like the owner can always do what they want. The majority shareholder can always do what they want. So, oh, I'm resigning means absolutely nothing. Like Elon Musk when he says, "Oh, I'm not gonna be his Twitter CEO." It's like, but the CEO's got to come talk to me before he does anything. And that's basically what Vince is kind of big dogging him and said, "Hey, I'm now. You pushed me out. Haha, that was so funny. Guess what I'm gonna do? Sell the whole dang thing, and I'm gonna get rid of you guys before I sell." And no matter all the niceties, says, "Oh yeah, well, I always will love this company." It's like, no, you don't. You hate it. You actually you thought you could actually take it to new heights and actually make it something that people want to watch. And then your father-in-law said, "Don't care. Now you cut out the will. Suck it, kids." Um, I don't think probably the. I mean, I've read it's like talent's not happy. Stephanie and Hunter, you sure know are kind of like we were actually doing stuff, and this and the as they said, the old man really just kind of came in there and just sabotaged us all. And I'm sure on some levels, like we thought we were going to at least have the opportunity to buy it, like he did from his father, or he was going to give it to us because what else do you have? Your legacy is nothing other than, this has been a family company. And now you're like, no, I don't care. So what have you heard on the street?
I mean, that's the biggest street news. I mean, it's just crazy and ridiculous how this is playing out. And it's really interesting. And I'm curious what the reaction to the fans when Vince finally shows up on camera again will be. Are they going to be, oh, it's Mr. McMahon? Or are they going to be like, this dude screwed up all our fun?
Again, I'm thinking you're going to hear some dubbed in cheers.
Ah,
I think that's what you're going to see. I mean, you're going to see people like, hey, go to camera one. Boo! Move that camera. Like, yeah.
Go to camera 19, the one from back in Attitude Era where people are excited to see him.
Go to the actual one where we actually paid the people to be here. Okay, stay there.
That one. Like, and we're talking about wrestling, so of course it'd be weird not to address the real tragic death of Jay Briscoe. I got into ROH really late, after so many of their stars like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, et cetera, left. And because our stations over here just didn't get it. And when they finally did, one of the first matches I saw was the Briscoes. I was like, oh, these guys are actually living up to all the hype of Reno. Everybody's saying how great they were. And they were really good. And Jay Briscoe could cut some great promos. That guy was just, I feel like so often these guys feel like they're reading the script and they don't really believe it themselves. But I felt like Jay Briscoe, his character was dialed in and locked in and just like, oh man, this dude is serious. I love it. It felt like old school promos where the wrestlers made you believe in their characters and you cared about their matches because they were so authentic. And his matches were fun. The Briscoe matches, when they were tag teaming. And I told you that they just had this great trilogy with FTR and really good series of matches. And it kind of sucks because that's like the last big time high profile thing we've seen him in. And they got the big win over FTR in a double dog collar match. So it was like this big triumphant moment. Tony Khan was like, yeah, we're about to bring ROH back. And they're going to be, of course, the centerpiece of the promotion. It's just, the whole thing sucks. And yeah, it's just really bad because I really enjoyed his work and reading all these tributes from the different wrestlers. They just said how great he was as a family man and a guy behind the scenes. So it's just really crappy situation.
Yeah. When it's like, sometimes when you think of these guys as actors, but it's like when you see it's like the actor you're like, I believe this guy's character was really good and what they put in. I mean, both sides in front of the camera were really good. And then you hear behind the scene that they were even a better person. It's like, it's even worse because you're like, this world has way too many bad people sticking around. And then anytime you hear about a good person going, you get sad. So I'm sad to see Jamin that he's left us.
Yeah. All right. So now, in a very particular segue, it's time to talk about some crazy people. Who's your nominees for Dummy of the Week?
I was actually just speaking with one of my friends who's a Jets fan. And my Dummy of the Week is Jets management or whoever thinks Nathaniel Hackett should be sniffing a coaching job in the NFL. The guy was only good because of Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur. He's not good. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not. It's like his Matt LaFleur's brother got fired from the job. So you're gonna call the guy probably who was right behind him and call him? Like, no, this is the candidate. Like, you guys in the recycled candidate coaching era, y'all can't find better than this. Like, this is the guy who couldn't figure out, should I call a run? Hey, you know what we should do for that $250 million? Kick a field goal. Like, yeah, that's like, this is a guy you want to be asking, hey, what do we do for second and 15? Punt. Time out. I don't know. Like, you want him sniffing anything? So Robert Saleh, for you even thinking about calling that guy up a year removed, he needs to go and He needs to go in coaching purgatory to think about his life before he even sniffs another job. Maybe high school football, but pro, not a chance. So for anyone thinking Nathaniel Hackett should be anywhere near a coaching job next year is a dummy of the week for me.
Very good. My choice again needs to stick with football. And I'm not quite sure if I would go with Brandon Staley for letting a 27-point lead evaporate and forgetting, hey, I can also choose run plays on my Madden play sheet, and I can run the ball and run the clock out here. I could do that. Or Mike McCarthy for sticking with a kicker who missed 4 extra points. That's a special kind of me learning how to play the new Madden kind of extra point kicking. Like, I don't. And I got the new Madden. I was like, well, why did they change the kicking mechanism up again?
I mean, did you see why the kicker was kicking him every time? It was like, hey, you're going from the left hash and you're kicking him right. Maybe switch it up. I don't know. Just, try something different. I got it, coach. I got it.
Yes. But I think my choice for dummies of the week are the Cowboys fans at Raymond James Stadium, wherever Tampa Bay plays, if it's still Raymond James or if they got bought out somewhere, chanting, "We want the Niners."
Hey, Jeff, you guys only won last year because you didn't you let your foot off the points, the 21 points you had them up by at halftime. I'm sure that won't happen again.
I'm sure that won't happen again either. I'm sure that won't happen again either.
Hey, after losing to the Commanders, we should play one of the hottest team in the league.
Yeah. Tampa Bay limped into the playoffs. Now they're feeling good about themselves again.
Man. Hey, you probably put Brady into retirement, but that's going to be the highlight of this season.
And I'm really upset about it because I wanted the Niners to do that.
Then no matter what, they still would say, Brady might come here next year.
Yeah, you're right. That would have been a whole week of that, and that'd been just annoying, as opposed to them saying the Cowboys really do have a chance. They do. They've got a Vince McMahon chance. All right, bro shot. Thank you as always. Wait. I forgot. We got a few minutes left.
Dun, dun, dun.
Let's talk the circle.
All right, what you got?
I'm gonna need the show to stop putting in people with it so late in the thing. I need them to put like 16 people in the circle at one time, or bring people in 4 at a time. Not these 2 week deals where 2 new people come in and they can't get eliminated. They can't get blocked this week. So sorry. Because what happens is the latecomers, nobody cares enough to block them, and they feel bad for blocking a new person. So it's like, whatever. And they just hang around for no good reason. Like Oliver and Samira. Like, they're just here. Because no one cares. They haven't done enough.
No one's going to vote for them to win the whole thing. And
exactly.
Think what was it like last year where one latecomer, he got basically, the season 1's husband, like he got pretty late because he was actually doing things. But the rest of them is just like, they're just gonna be like, yeah, we know who's gonna win. Like, oh, I can make a big move. No, you can't. You have no chance. It's
impossible for newcomers to make a big move to do anything the way the show's set up. Yeah. And I just need them to start putting more people in earlier and not having, do 2 blocks a night or whatever. But this whole deal where it's like, we got new people, but we can't block them. Are you caught up until today's season finale?
No, I have I think I got when like Oliver and Tamara got. Oliver came in, but after that, I'm just like, you guys have no shot. So it's like put in like 16 or like a good core 10, and then just like, all right, each in 16 is probably your max. So hey, 16's it. There may be some catfishes running around, but give the guy, and it's like the latecomers have to start basically week 3 at the latest. And then if the show's 6 weeks, the latest they come in is week 3. That's it, because they have no chance otherwise.
Absolutely. And next week, we'll talk more in detail after you and I both watch the season finale of The Circle. And we're going to talk some Married at First Sight because, oh my gosh, you were right. All right. So this time for real, thank you so much for rolling with me, bro. Thank you all out there for watching and listening. This episode of Loud's Movie Files has been filed.